Hey guys, this is Mini TV, and this is a first of hopefully a long video series of hero guides, particularly in the offlane with an Immortal player's perspective. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to do it on Enigma. Now, by all means, I'm not the best Enigma or offlane player, but after seeing a few Enigma offlane guides, I thought they're either like considerably outdated or they're just some mute replay of some random pro. So I thought I'd make a video just to sort of see. If I can give some help to anyone and make a general guide. Obviously, I'm not like the perfect Enigma player, but obviously I'm immortal, so hopefully I can give some kind of beneficial insight and knowledge. So let's get straight into it, shall we? So first off, I'm going to jump into a replay. Have I played recently? A couple of days ago, and we'll get started. But I think, personally speaking, I think there's two main ways to play Enigma now that Helm of Dominator has been nerfed considerably. I think you can still play Enigma support with the Helm of Dominator changes, but from what I've been seeing and been watching a lot of pros in both competitive matches and in their matchmaking games, is that they can just completely ignore Helm of Dom, when before it was so important to pick up. So changes like that are really important, I think, to keep note of, and it's not there's no longer picking up. So I think the one of the main ways I'm going to show you is the way I've played it here, and I started going a lot of the more sort of push orientated kind of build, which was mech Greaves and sort of grouping up with the team. So to start off, I really choose. It doesn't matter which build you go. I think the starting item build is always going to be the same. Two sets of tangos, four mangos, and a gauntlet of strength. Now the reason you do this is that you need the four mangos put simply just to make sure you continue using sort of deny, and then gauntlet of strength just helping you to get to the soul ring as quick as possible. Now, I have seen alternative builds where you sort of go maybe two branches, a set of tangos, and then maybe a clarity and mangoes. But that's normally for solo situations. So if you're like, in a competitive match, perhaps when your team is running like a defensive tri lane against their tri lane and you're 1v1, and you might need extra bit of stats just to help with last hitting because you're starting off with 45, which is pretty weak. So those few branches can help. But for sort of generally speaking, I think this is the most optimal way to play. But obviously, to start off with, you kind of have two choices really. You can sort of sit right back to the lane and just deny straight away, and then get your mana regeneration going started off with, or you can kind of help your sort of support player to try and get a rune. I think generally speaking, I think just even though you offer absolutely nothing to an early game early fight engagement, I think sort of just having an extra person to pick up the rune while your support might try and harass them is always more beneficial because you're still going to get the deny off back over here anyway, so it's not the worst case scenario. So yeah, you just go ahead and deny straight away. And what I like to do here is like send my Eidolons down, just like without even kind of looking at them, and then go straight and try and block, say, one or two creeps, just so this creep gets denied as well as quick as possible, and then send the Eidolons off to try and harass the support. Now, the first kind of few waves are not, well, quite important to try and get a few denies. These Eidolons are going to last for sort of 15 or 20 seconds after you've done it straight away. So it's good to try and maybe play a little bit more aggressive because they're going to spawn out anyway. You don't need to worry that they're going to get, denied. A good thing to do as well, try and remember, is that whenever you're trying to deny the Eidolons, try and do it out of sort of experience range from the Spectre. As you saw there, I did it outside because even though denies are good whether they're near or not, obviously they've been buffed a little bit where they still get like more experience in the coming patches than before. So if you could try and deny outside of experience range, it's definitely something to keep in mind. So the first sort of few minutes in the lane, you just kind of want to be really focusing on getting last hits. Your Eidolons are very low in terms of damage, so they don't offer too much harass potential. So just trying to look for the denies and last hits while your support is busy with the other support. In that case, obviously, I did deny and he did get a level, which I think in that case it wasn't that bad because the wave was very far back, and I need these Eidolons to get these last hits under the tower. So just trying to get outside experience rate is important, but it's not the worst case scenario in terms of that. So I'm closing on Soul Ring, but I've still got 3 mangoes left, and this is why the mangoes are really, really important early on. Just to make sure you have enough mana just to continually spam deny until you get Soul Ring. So yeah, just front out right now, like it's pretty, pretty normal as before. Just still trying to get last hits as best as you can. Again, denying outside experience as possible. And like this is a perfect scenario, honestly, where you have your position for kind of bullying and boxing out the other support while you're kind of 1v1 against the carry, because like with the eidolons and yourself, like you're going to be able to last hit better than any kind of carry. And obviously, like whenever you have a chance to obviously get denies, but you want to play like a little bit safe though. Like in this lane it's not so bad because Spectre and Warlock don't really offer too much kill potential on you, but you're a very slow hero to start with. Like 290 base movement speed is very low, so you always want to sort of stay behind the creep wave as best as you can, and just try and get the last hits is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So I've got my Soul Ring now, and so every single time you have that off cooldown with your Eidolons, you want to make sure you Soul Ring first and then go with the Eidolons. Just simple plays like that can make a big difference because you want to make sure you always have your mana up and ready. In cases like this as well, I mean, I didn't actually do it this game, but I mean, I haven't been harassed that much because this Rubik's done quite a good job in boxing out the other support. So if you need to sort of share tangos, you can do that with the Rubik. But as you can see, like just from the first 3 minutes, I'm top of the CS, and I've got loads of deniers as well. So 17 last hits and 11 deniers at 3.5 minutes is what the strength of Enigma offlane can do, and particularly when you're playing against like a very hard carry like Spectre. This is a bit bad for me. I kind of take a lot of harass because I'm focusing so much on trying to get denied, but I don't die here. Like stun and run is fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, so like when you play against like a very hard offlaner, say like a Spectre, having all these deniers can be so tilting and so annoying to play against because you're going to be very low on CS, particularly in the early levels. So in this case, after your Soul Ring, you kind of have two choices really. If you feel like that there's a potential that you can die, I would definitely recommend picking up the boots just to help you get away from ganks. But if you can perhaps try and save up for Midas, and that's what I do this game. Now, Midas is kind of quite controversial recently in terms of whether you should go it or not. But I think particularly in pub matches where games are lasting a lot longer, and people can't punish you for your greed, I think Midas is so good, particularly on Enigma, for two reasons. One, because Enigma really is like almost in some ways kind of a late game carry. Items like Ags, Refresher, obviously BKB, it just make the hero 10 times better than if he was just a hero with low farm. So you can really benefit a lot from the farm. And secondly, and probably more importantly, is that obviously at level 15, your cooldown reduction is such a useful talent to go with Midas. And also, like, Octarine Core is definitely an important item on Enigma if you can get it as well. So all these cooldown reductions just synergizes so well with Midas. And clearly in this game, I'm not being pressured. I've got, like, the top farm in the game at 5 minutes, and I can kind of get away with going Midas and rushing it. I'm in no danger really of getting ganked because the lane is more of a defensive lane from them. Warlock and Spectre. The Warlock's just going to be healing the Spectre, so it's very hard for them to sort of get a kill me. There's no stun, there's no real slow other than Spectral Dagger. So getting away with Midas is definitely a possibility. And if you can get it, as early as I'm about to get it, then I definitely would recommend it. Obviously there's games where you won't be able to get Midas, where say like you're struggling in the lane or your team need you to get a bit more aggressive and help out, then maybe yes, you can kind of miss the Midas. But I think as a rule of thumb, if you can get it at a good time, perhaps around 8-9 minutes, 10 minutes, I would definitely recommend it. Now, so I'm level 5 now. I definitely would recommend picking up a point in Midnight Pulse. It's a kind of a 1-point wonder, really, like 3.75% damage per second, which is pure damage. It's just so useful. Not only that, but the mana cost is so low as well that little bit of harass that you can do is very good. And also, when you get level 6, you can kind of get solo kills with Midnight Pulse and Black Hole combination. So yeah, so for the first sort of 10 minutes or so, laning as Enigma is pretty simple. You're sort of trying to get your last hits, obviously, and now I'm level 5. My Eidolons are very strong, and I can man up against the Spectre. And so I don't need to be worried about really worried about him. No stun, obviously, on Malefice, also I would have killed him there. But yeah. But yeah, so I mean, just harassing and beating out this Spectre completely. Like he's 26 and 4, I'm 38 and 22, and by this point, the Warlock feels that he can't really do too much to me because I'm always having the lane back here. Obviously, denying as much as I can, always on the range creep as well because that gives the highest amount of experience to the mini carry. And this is what most of my games look like, even in the Immortal bracket, where the safe lane are really struggling to know what to do, really, because the lane's always back here. I think honestly, if the Warlock was playing better, he would continually pull this safe lane pull. That's one of the most annoying things to play against when you're an offlane Enigma, because the lane will always get pushed back here. Then you're more likely to die and come on. But I've got minus to 7.5 minutes now. So straight away use it, and I just kind of want to push out the wave now as much as I can because I'm by myself now, 1v2, trying to keep denying and keeping the wave back as much as I can. I'm going to go use the shrine here because low mana, low HP, and I can last it with my Eidolons while I am off getting the shrine. Obviously, after Midas, like sometimes you can go boots or Midas, but if you're feeling really greedy, you can go Midas before boots, and you just get a lot quicker timing. But yeah, like I mean, look how low like these guys. Spectre's level 5 while I'm level 6, and Warlock's level 3. Like they're both very underfarmed because of the amount of denying I've been doing, like 26 denies. So now I'm level 6. Ideally, I'd like to get a gank to come to my lane because I've got Black Hole. Like any +1 on the whole team, I can kill basically anyone in this safe lane. But you don't really want to be kind of moving around with your Black Hole. Like people might think, oh, maybe I've got Black Hole, maybe I should co-gank mid or go gank top. But obviously my other lanes are doing quite well without me, and I want to be sort of still pressuring this Spectre as much as I can, because really he's going to be the hero that's I'm going to have the biggest problem with late game. So I want to kind of shut him down as much as possible, and sort of sitting in this lane is very important. So I've been asking my team to come gank for me, but they're kind of crashing elsewhere on the map, so I'm not that worried whether they're not ganking for me down bot. But if they do come, then we can definitely set up a kill. So I've got my boots now, and so I'm a little bit more harder to kill, but still, again, I want to keep the lane back. Warlocks hasn't pulled once yet. And a point to mention about, like, so if you're playing against Enigma, I would definitely recommend pulling either here or here. If you're Radiant, or obviously if you're offlane, then or if you're Dire, then here and here, because it just puts Enigma in such a worse position. And conversely, if you are the Enigma or you're on Enigma's team, always try and I didn't actually get it, I don't think anyway, I can check, but always try and get a ward to block the pull camp, because it makes your life so much easier. I don't think I got it this game. I think the Warlock was just kind of bad and didn't pull. Yeah, it hasn't been blocked, so unless that was dewarded, I don't know. Anyway, back to where we were, I think about 9 minutes or so. But yeah, so it's really important to sort of keep as much as you can. Right, I'm going to go back. So, so as you saw here, like the Spectre hits 6 and tries to gank top. Now, whenever the carry in your lane sort of disappears, that is the perfect time to stop denying your own creeps and start pressuring the tower. For the first 10 minutes, I've been trying to play it safe. 0 deaths with Midas is kind of a good game, but now there's no one in this lane. You want to put pressure on the map, because then you want to punish the move they're making over there. So straight away, I'm using Eidolons more aggressively. I'm not denying, I'm actually using it on there, and I start positioning myself more aggressively. I mean, my team's crushing without me anyway, so it's not it's not too worried. But I'm obviously going to get the runes as well now, because now they try and pressure top. Like as an Enigma, you kind of want to sort of stay in your lane and just be as annoying as possible, denying the carry's farm, getting the bounty runes, pressuring the tower. I mean, Spectre's TB'd back bot now, but that kind of idea of whenever your carry leaves, you want to kind of pressure the tower as fast as possible. So going on to other item builds, like as I said before, there's 2 ways to play Enigma. I think one way is like the Guardian Greaves, and more sort of tanky, pushing with your team, and this is the perfect kind of game to do it. I've got a Lycan on my team. We have a lot of push already, and my team's already crushing the early game, so I don't need to go late game. I can kind of just go these items and kind of carry out the game. A Rubik's now here with me, so if I see an opportunity to kill the Spectre, I'll definitely go for it, because I know with this +1 I can kill him. So he spits out of position, Midnight Pulse, and then Black Hole, and he will die. So simple as that. Like that's just how much damage the Midnight Pulse and Black Hole combo can do. And there we go, and that hit, and he's dead. And now with the carry being dead as well, like it's got to either force a rotation from the Radiant, or we're going to get this tower for free. We have a catapult as well, so that was like the perfect gank really. We kill him. He has no TP as well because he TP'd back bottom, and so this tower is now ours. And for the first 10 minutes, I haven't moved from this whole lane. I think that's how you want to be trying to play it. It's going to be a little bit of an engagement here. You don't really offer too much really early levels outside of your stun, but sometimes that's all you really need to set up any kills. Your Eidolons, particularly with obviously Lycan's W, can do serious damage as well. But we kill one, but we won't be able to catch this Venge if I remember correctly. So we run a little bit, but. So right now, like when this tier 1 tower is dead, this is when like the playstyle of you will change a lot more. You still want to be annoying and you still want to be pressuring this lane, because obviously we know like this lane is the dead lane really. You want to kind of put as much pressure as you can on this lane to really to alleviate pressure for our carry in the safe lane here. So what I'm going to be doing really is I'm going to be rotating between this three triangle camps here and pushing out this wave and this hard camp and this neutral camp. This is kind of my rotation. These camps, and then returning back and doing it all over again. You want to kind of keep this lane in as much as you can to try and exert more pressure and kind of keep up your farm as much as possible. Right now, I'm still top net worth, but that's because I got Midas so early. But it's because I'm farming efficiently and farming on the right part of the map. I don't have black hole either, so there's no point in me trying to look for kills when I can kind of keep up my farm and put pressure on the map. Now, a small thing as well is that when you play Enigma, you're going to have a lot of empty slots. Okay, so you want to just be efficient. You want to be kind of using up your slots here. So I sort of buy a windlace. It's a small item, but it does kind of make a big difference. Honestly, you're a slow hero, and kind of particularly before you have Blink Dagger, having a windlace can be the difference between landing a good black hole and not landing it at all, really. So just a small thing, but it just you can go Magic Stick as well, and I think Magic Stick, particularly in a lane where there's a lot of kind of spam, I definitely recommend it, because as you might have known, the last 2 patches have given a slight kind of nerf to Spectre's intelligence game. So, and then also the increase in mana for Black Hole as well. So having any kind of excess mana regen is good. But obviously at this time now anyway, like we've kind of almost won the game anyway. It's like 9k, but we need to be careful anyway, because they have Spectre, they have Dro, like and Warlock, which is obviously great ways to kind of get back into the game. So you still want to be kind of exerting pressure as much as you can all the time. So just because we're this far ahead doesn't mean we can start playing lax and kind of playing too cocky. Again, even though like we're this far ahead, I'm still not pushing with my team. Like, I don't have black hole, and me kind of having a pressure on this map is enough to sort of force a rotation here. Like I don't have to be with my team. Like me forcing this rotation from the Dro helps my team in a way that makes sure that Dro's not here. So it's in this fight here, it's 4v4 because Dro is now. If I sort of TP away, but I think this Dro's kind of feeding or something, or he's just I don't know, but he's just AFK and he's going to die to my Eidolons. But regardless, anyway, like you putting pressure here forces one rotation from the enemy team. So worst case scenario, at least it's 4 versus 4. And with me not having black hole at the time, it's even better that I force a rotation bot in that respect. Another thing to mention as well is in this game I actually first picked Enigma, and sometimes that can be bad because you might get countered, but in some ways it can be good, because as you see, I first picked Enigma and instantly the enemy team respond with Warlock, Venge and Spec, which I think is some of the best heroes against Enigma. But as a result, them trying to counter me that heavily has kind of exposed themselves to be exploited by this Lycan pick, for example. Like Warlock, Venge and Spec all don't have barely any wave clear, so the push that this Lycan has on this game is enormous, really, all because they were trying to counter the Spec. They focused so much on me that as a result they kind of didn't have a good draft altogether. And that's kind of why we're crushing this game, really. Like they have no D push, they have really no kind of aggression early game. They have Dro, a Spectre, so much late game, and as a result that they're getting punished for it. And so now, what you want to do more often than not is not really join your team, but kind of get your team to join you, because you're quite slow hero, and you're the one that with the big team fight element, really. So trying to get your team to sort of follow you around instead of you follow the team around is sometimes better. So now I've got mech as well. We're basically unlosable. My team's joined me, and so now I can kind of move away and find another lane. We've got both towers down, so I kind of need to find another lane. it's almost kind of like when you play Enigma, particularly in games like this. Like you try and almost play like a broodmother. Like you're trying to like keep the same lane. Like you don't want to be moving around too much because you want to kind of stick in one lane, have like a nice farming rotation, and try and put pressure on the map. Obviously, like if if like the enemy team is like diving, like your enemy team, your team, like obviously you can TP in and set up with a black hole, but sometimes it's better just to put pressure on the towers and stuff. So, and all while stop top net worth as the offlane. And this is obviously 2v2. Like I wasn't. I had obviously a good lane. Like Rubik did well, helping me out, but having like an early minus and putting pressure on towers and having good farm rotation can still net you top net worth. So it's important to remember that. So right now, obviously, this game is kind of already over. Like we're 15,000 net worth up now. We've took every tower, and everything else really is just kind of a formality, really. We're killing people for fun. This Dro is like basically feeding. He's had enough. So that's kind of the end of the game, really. But it just hopefully this is the kind of style I wanted sort of to show you, where I mean this black hole is kind of useless, really. Doesn't like, and that's the thing as well. Like they pick all these heroes to try and counter my black hole, and yet I think I made one black hole this whole game, and that was to kill Spectre by himself. The rest was just putting pressure on, buying aura items, and just sort of putting pressure on the map. And that's it really. And if you're wondering whether I die here or not, we'll sort of wait and see. But and I don't. So win-win, 0 deaths, PogChamp. But yeah, just like people will think focus so much on the black hole, particularly in games like this where you don't need to. Like there is obviously games where the black hole is incredibly important, and that is kind of like the be all and end all for Enigma. But in games like this, like really, your black hole is kind of a secondary ability. Your most important ability in games like this really is your Eidolons, just to kind of pressure on the map. But this is just one style of playing Enigma. Like I said, there was 2 styles of playing Enigma, and I'll show you another replay where the black hole really is the be all and end all. But that is a little bit of a longer game, so I try and split it up as much as I can. I don't play fantastic in the other game, but like I said, it's just trying to give some insights into how to play Enigma. So this game is basically over, and I'll switch over to the other game now. Okay guys, so this is the second video as I was showing, and this is going to be a slightly different style of Enigma. Obviously the last one I was showing more in terms of team fight and a lot more of pushing, whereas this one is more almost Enigma-esque, something that Toby Wan would be really proud of, where it's all about the black holes, trying to land these big ones that, everything, it's massive, all above the midnight pulse with the black hole. This is the game for it because of 2 reasons. One, because we don't really have that much push potential. As you can see, we don't have any other push really outside of me. Secondly, we have barely any lockdown outside of me as well. So because of that, I'm going to be the one that needs to really be making, the aggressive moves, the one that's sort of setting up the kills. Because without it, really, we have no stun. Obviously, we have the Puck Dream Coil, but supports with Undying and the Baden. It's like, put simply, it's terrible support duo. Really, there's no stun potential, there's no catch, there's no nothing, and that's the biggest reason, really, why this game goes on for so long, because we can't really end the game, really. But as you can see, the same item build really doesn't really matter what style of play you're going for, but it's still going to be the same item build. Again, when it comes to the runes as well, if you can try and get a rune, whether as you know, you have really no presence in an early game team fight because you only have deny. And for the love of God, please don't spec Malefice just to get a bounty rune. It's just not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. So just go for a deny. In this case, it worked out. They didn't even pressure me, even though I was by myself, and Undying was kind of AFK for the first minute or so. Again, deny on the creep if you can. 1 binding for your Eidolons, 1 binding for your hero, so my Eidolons can go and harass this support while I block the wave. You want to do this so this creep dies even faster, and then obviously you get the wave back, because that's going to be in your favour as much as possible. Try and get the first deny, or harass a little bit as well. Like I said, these Eidolons are going to be dying in 5 minutes, so if you do suicide with them, it's not the worst case. Little deny there as well, always helps. You can use your Eidolons to deny your own ones. But you don't want to posture too heavily. This Undying is a bit suicidal and kind of has 4 mangoes and no tangos, but let him be. Just try and get the wave back. Simple as that. So again, I mean, this Undying is going to be doing a little similar job to the Rubik as he was last time. I think in this case it's going to be a little bit better because he might be able to harass both the Ursa and the AA at the same time. A little bit annoying because I think I miss a creep back over there because he's off harassing, but again, just focusing on your last hits as much as you can. You want to try and get your soul ring as fast as possible. The 4 mangoes really is kind of a bit of an insurance, really, that you can get to the soul ring with still having enough mana to continually deny. Worst case scenario is you don't get enough last hits, really, to get your soul ring before you run out of mangoes. Because if you're not using your deny always off cooldown, you're kind of wasting the ability. So making sure you have enough mana is very important. That's why you go for the 4 mangoes. A little thing to note as well here is that when you have grouped your Eidolons and your hero, and you're sort of trying to right click to get a last hit, your hero has slightly faster attack speed than your Eidolons. So you need to be careful that because your hero will attack first and your Eidolons will attack later, you don't miss last hits. I mean, I don't know if I show it here in this game here, but you'll notice that sometimes because your hero attacks first, as you see my Undying, I don't know what he's doing. I do flame him a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I go ahead and mute him because he starts yelling at me. But anyway, yeah, going back to the point, if just try and keep aware that your hero will attack faster than your Eidolons, and as a result, that can cause you to miss a last hit because it will just sort of throw off. So what you can do is either you can kind of position your hero further back and let your Eidolons be right next to the creep. That way, you'll kind of have the same last hit sort of attack time, or you can try and attack when the creep has kind of quite a lot of HP, and then let your Eidolons get the last hit because all attacks will come together. Or what you can do is just try and be really precise and attack just with your hero. But you get a feel for it. But sometimes you will miss last hits just because of that reason. But just so you're aware. So this game, I can't remember exactly whether I go Midas first or get a boots first. I think because Undying, although he was a bit suicidal, he does do quite a good job of sort of harassing the support, and that's the main thing really. Because the carry normally can't harass you as Enigma that hard. It's normally the support that's going to give you kind of a hard time. So if you can get your position 4 to really try and box out the support as best as possible, you can always handle the carry regardless of who it is. In this case, obviously, I'm going to still be going for the last hits, but I'm going to be using my Eidolons to go on the support. I have stun up, an easy kill. It's important to try and use your Eidolons to the best of your abilities because at level 3 they do a lot of damage, and particularly now, obviously they've doubled up, and you can. Although my Eidolons were hitting the creeps there, if you're good micro, you can do a lot of damage even on these early levels. So yeah, going back to the point, I think if Undying either wasn't doing as good of a job of harassing the support, or say he was in another lane like he is down bottom, I might try and go for boots instead of Midas. But as I've said before, Midas is so good, particularly I think in pub games where games are going later and you can kind of get away with not being punished for the greed. So if you can kind of skip boots and go Midas before, it does make a difference. Honestly, that 500 gold does make a lot of difference on how fast you get your Midas. So if you can get away with it and the lane's always in your favor, I would definitely recommend going for Midas. Another small factor as well is, as I said before, always use your soul ring before using denies. But if you have quite a few spare mangoes and you're quite low on regen or quite low on health and don't have a lot of regen left, sometimes you can use a mango instead of using a soul ring, just to keep your HP at an okay level. In this situation here, and like I said, if I was alone, maybe I'd think about going boots. But in this case, AA is not in this lane really, so it's just me 1v1 against the Ursa. And although yes, he can be scary, if he gets on top of me with my stun, and I'm pretty sure this Ursa hasn't got any points at Earth Shock, so I don't really need to worry that I'm gonna die. So I don't really need to pick up boots. And as I'm so close, again having pretty good farm as of last game. Not as good as last game, to be fair. I was on top CS last game, but I can still go ahead and kind of greed out for the Midas. Right here, I'm a little bit scared, you see. I'm using my Eidolons a little bit to try and see if AA is in the trees there, just before you saw a little bit of micro AA. And I'm playing a little bit scared here. I don't really know where. If AA comes from the trees, I have no vision, I have no support. I don't want to be dying here, so I need to be kind of careful. When I'm playing really far back, not really going for the last hits because they're up here. Because like, if AA is there and Ursa's on top of me, I will die. So you need to play a little bit careful. And just sort of trying to last hit a little bit with my Eidolons, trying to keep my hero back. Because I need to be scary. I need to be scared. Like he's just sitting in the trees there. I need to play very defensive. And like in scenarios like this, you know, just not dying is the most important thing. You're eventually going to get your farm. Like you're closing in on your Midas. The wave's coming towards you anyway. You don't need to go for that one last hit that you might have missed. You know, or you might have got if you played more up. But if you play that far up, you might die, miss all these creeps here. So playing it safe is always a bit more beneficial than trying to go greed. So again, I'm level 6. Now's the time where I'm calling for a +1 from anyone to try and set up, because I can kill, again, anyone with a +1. So I think Undying is dead. I think he does TP top, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he does. So this is where I'm going to look for a kill on the Ursa if he sort of shows his face. I've got the Midas recipe. A thing you can do as well is if the courier is not in use, which obviously it is right now, as you can see, you can bring the Midas recipe and then buy your gloves of haste in the side shop, which is kind of a nice little quality of life for your team, not using the courier constantly. And also you have the Midas a lot quicker than if it was sent from base to yourself. But I can't do that anyway because look. So right now I know Undying's behind me. I can man up. Just Ursa comes up with me. Midnight Pulse, Black Hole, and he's dead. Simple as that. I have my Eidolons as well with me, which obviously going to give me a lot of extra damage. And yeah, just simple as that. Honestly, like when you get level 6, instantly call for a rotation, because the carry will always try and play a little bit more aggressive, because he's like I've denied 27 of his creeps. He's like the lowest of all the cores because he's playing against an Enigma, and he's going to be a little bit tilted. So he wants to kill, and that's when you can punish even further. So I've got my Midas now again at quite a good time. 7 or 8 minutes. I'm going to try and be using it on the big creep as much as you can, because you get more experience obviously from that. And now you don't have Black Hole. You want to be a little bit more careful, but with Eidolons and with my support here, I don't really need to be worried too much. One thing, particularly in this game, I need to be wary of is keeping eyes on the Spirit Breaker, because right now 2v2, me and Undying can kind of handle a level 3 AA and a level 6 and a level 6 so when I'm level 7 he's level 4. But this is the hero I need to be wary of. If he starts rotating in, that's when we're going to be in trouble here. Again, using Midnight Pulse whenever possible. For such low mana cost, it kind of has so much presence. You see the Ursa instantly rotate off because it's scared. We're going to get a little bit harassed on the AA because I know Spirit Breaker is still bot, and we do kill the AA because of a nice Soul Rip Max with his zombies and my Eidolons. Does a lot of damage actually. So, and now obviously AA is dead. Going to try and pressure the tower. Spirit Breaker's off the map. I can see that if you see from my perspective, and I'm going to start playing a little bit more defensive as a result. We see the Ursa here as well. I'm like, right, AA's off the map. We have Puck saying he's going to come TP in so we can man up, even though Spirit Breaker is probably charging. And with the Eidolons and with Puck, easy secure kill on the Ursa. And it's a great rotation from Puck, really, because we now have killed the Ursa, who is TP'd in, so he has no TP, and neither does the AA either. So now, because I know these two things, I can pressure this tower even more. Again, like I said, you want to sort of sit in your lane, get your team to rotate to you. Bounty to spawn up in 10 minutes, but I know Puck can get both of them, so I can kind of pressure the tower by myself. So this is where the item builds are going to change a little bit from last game. I was going straight into mech and into greaves, and more the aura items and more the kind of team fight and push. Whereas this game, I know that I need to be the one that's making plays, the one that's making the kind of the lockdown happen, and for that to happen, I need to get a blink dagger. We don't have any catch really outside of me, so getting that blink and BKB is. It's very important. Not only that, but they have no BKB disable, or piercing disable. So I know if I get blink black hole, blink BKB, there's nothing they can do to stop it. So that's kind of the rush. Obviously, in the last game, there was Avenge, there was the Warlock, and so having the BKB was kind of a less important because obviously if I get Blink Black Hole, they can still cancel it out with Warlock. With this game, it's even more important. So I see a rotation coming down in, and instantly I TP over because I have Black Hole. And it's a single black hole. It's not great, but at the same time, in these early levels, you're not going to land 5-man black holes. Like you're not. You're just simply not going to land 5-man black holes. So you don't need to kind of try and get this perfect black hole. Just use it and get a kill, secure a kill. It's early on, and that extra kill, sets a precedent that you're going to use it off of cooldown, and that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you use black hole off cooldown as much as you can. So now I've TP'd away from the lane. This is where the playstyle will change a little bit more. Obviously, in the last game, I was kind of sitting in my lane and kind of, just getting my team to rotate around me. But because I'm the only lockdown, I have to play around my team. But instantly, after I've rotated bot to kill bot, I can do one of two things. Either I can stay bot and try and pressure the tower, or I can go back to my lane and kind of get my farm up and kind of pressure the top lane. And I decided to do that because if I stay bot, I have no black hole, and they can still rotate in, and we won't be able to get the tower. So it's more efficient, really, to kind of keep my farm up and stay in this lane here. You kind of, as the offlaner, for the most part anyway, you want to kind of stay in the offlane because you're kind of the best person to do that. You can kind of jungle, you can deny creeps as well to kind of get the lane back. It's just you're the best hero to do it. So as of talents, I think for level 10 talents, I think in the last game I went for the movement speed, and this one I went for the magic resistance. They're both good. You can do either or. I think it depends really on who you're playing against. If there's a lot of heroes that have a lot of magic damage, like this game, Storm, AA, for example, going for the magic resist is really nice. The movement speed is also good as well. If you kind of just want to get around the map, and they don't have a lot of magic resist, it can be useful. In situations like this, obviously there's rotations down bot. I do see that my team's winning down bot, so I don't need to help out, and also I don't have black hole either, so I don't need to worry. In situations like this, I can kind of man up on the Ursa, kind of force out some kind of cooldowns. I have my blink now as well, and as of last game as well, I should be buying a what's it called, a windlace as well, because it's just efficient item slots really, particularly that I didn't go for the movement speed talent as well. It's always nice to have, and there we go, there's the windlace ball. It's just a little thing that helps, honestly, like particularly that I didn't have the movement speed talent. Like it's very useful, particularly before you like if you're trying to land like big black holes and stuff, having that extra movement speed to run in to get in the right position can be very, very useful. But again, I'm just sort of trying to play efficient as much as I can, farming with my Eidolons up here, as you can see. Like there's 2 or 3 people off the map. I don't want to go that far up, but I can still kind of pressure this lane without me being there. I can kind of use my Eidolons, get some CS, and while that, I can kind of just right-click a hard camp in the meantime. Don't want to be feeding my Eidolons away though, so I will run them back. And while your black hole is down, this is kind of the playstyle you want to be doing, really. Just sort of farming up, getting as much as you can, kind of pressuring the lane. And pressuring the lane really is probably the most important thing, because the enemy team probably should know, particularly if they're a half-decent team, should know that your black hole's on cooldown. So because of that, they might try and make a play, they might try and get aggressive. But if you're pressuring this top lane here, it will almost always force an enemy player, enemy hero to rotate to this lane. And if there's an enemy player, sitting and residing in this lane, right, I need to go back because I was talking too much, but if there's an enemy player kind of residing in this lane here, then you don't need to worry. Like they can't be making that many plays if there's someone sitting here, and they will only sit here if you pressure. So us sitting here, so they don't really make too many aggressive plays because they're playing 4 instead of 5 with the Ursa. So make sure you're always pressuring the lane, particularly when your black hole is on cooldown. But when it is off cooldown, again, you want to be making plays as much as you can. Always have a TP ready as well, and now I've got blink as well. I'm a lot more dangerous, and I can set up on any kind of ganks, any kind of rotations, and so I'm always on the lookout for it. So right now, as I've cooled down, I see there's like maybe something going down bot. I rotate in as if I was maybe a quarter second faster, it would have been even better. But I do see something, I instantly TP down, and I try and set up as best as I can. There you go, simple, like go for a 2-man. As I said, doesn't need to be like perfect, but you use it off of cooldown, and we set up 3 kills because of it, you know. And now, like I said, there's 2 choices: either you go and try and rotate top, or but in this case, obviously, there's 3 dead, and I have all my team with me now, so we can kind of maybe try and pressure the tower, even though my black hole is on cooldown. Another thing that's important to note as well is that because of the nerf to in Enigma's intelligence gain in the last patch and the increased mana cost on Black Hole, if you're not going the Mana Boots rush or sort of the Guardian Greaves rush, you will kind of suffer with mana. So it's really important to buy a few clarities just to make sure you are top tough. Just having the Soul Ring isn't really enough nowadays, so just having a few extra clarities can make all the difference. So we get the tower, but now is the position we need to be a little bit more careful, really, because there's 4 off the map. I have no black hole, but as a result, we do get punished here actually, and I should have been top, and I should have left my team. I try and help this guy, I think, and I think I do die. Yeah, or we try and go for a kill here, but I should be. I'm looking up here. I'm like, look, guys, I want to go up here. And I do, I think. Yeah, I do. Right, okay. I die somewhere else. I'm thinking of something else. I thought I do die, but that's the right play to make. So now I've got Blink Dagger as well. Having a +1 can set up a kill even without my black hole if Puck's ready. But Puck wasn't really in place at the time, but it still forces cooldowns and again puts more pressure on the map. So I'm closing in on my BKB now as well. I've got my Ogre X and I'm about 2,000-3,000 gold away from a BKB. And right now, obviously, there's fights going down bot, but without Black Hole, without TP, there's nothing I can do. So I'm just going to kind of keep pressuring a lane and trying to keep him my net worth up. And as you can see, I am top of net worth, even though I didn't have as great of a laning stage as last game. Just having an early Midas and kind of trying to be efficient as possible is what it's all about. Yeah, so like in this scenario, like there's loads off the map. I don't want to show Envision from the Spirit Breaker, so I sort of just use Eidolons again and then just blink away. Again, pressuring the map as much as possible. There might be a fight down bot, and so because of that, what I'm going to try and do, if I see enough people bot, I will run up top and try and help. But Storm's there, and Spirit Breaker is off the map as well. So, but they kill Ursa again, which like it's the small things. You might not think like me having an impact on the top lane contributes to that gank, but it does. Like Storm TB's top because he sees that lane pressuring. If Storm's not there, or if I don't pressure that lane, Storm might be bot in this fight here. And if Storm's bot in this fight here, then maybe we don't kill Ursa, maybe we don't kill AA, maybe the team fight turns and we lose heroes. So having continual pressure, it makes so much space for your team to make plays. And I'm doing all this space and all this kind of pressure without having black hole. So yes, this game is very much on my black hole, but when you don't have black hole, you want to be trying to be useful to your team. And sometimes being useful to your team is not even being with them, it's just being on the other side of the map, creating pressure. So now I do have black hole. I see there's might be a potential fight down bot, but I want to kind of make Eidolons before I go if possible. So I'm like, thinking of going down there. I do TP. It's a long TP, 5-second TP. If it was a different second TP, I might have done something even better. But even with it, I try my best. I see an opportunity. I nearly get a 5-man black hole, but that Storm just gets a zip off, and I do get stunned. But even though, like I said, the black hole wasn't perfect, it's enough to kind of create enough pressure on my team. For some reason, my life still TV's out, but Puck does go ahead and mop up it basically. But it was close, man. If maybe I didn't start a step, maybe if I was a bit more quicker to TP, I would have got the 5-man black hole. But it happens. It happens. Without BKB, it's hard to make that kind of play, to be honest. And Storm was was fast enough to zip out. But I was very salty about how close I was. But doesn't matter so much. We killed 4 and only lost me as a result. And luckily I bought out my Mithril Hammer before I died as well. So it wasn't the worst. So about 1,000 to go away from BKB. Midas is just coming off cooldown and I'm just about to respawn as well. So kind of good timing in that respect. So I'm going Blink BKB, and after that, what do I go? So there's a few decisions to be made, really. Firstly, there's Refresher is the obvious one. There's Ags, there's Guardian Greaves, but I think Octarine Core, particularly from what I'm seeing from like pro players like Seb and from other pro offlane players like Mind Control as well, that they kind of really do prioritize this Octarine core, and there's a few reasons for it. So, firstly, obviously you've got a Midas, so having any kind of cooldown reduction is going to be very beneficial. So you get even more farm and even more efficiency out of the Hand of Midas. Secondly, and probably more importantly, is that particularly good players, they will, the black hole cooldown is very long, put simply, 180 seconds at level 2 or 160 at level 3. So it's really important really to try and lower that cooldown so that there's less time for the enemy team to really punish you. You obviously get a cooldown reduction talent at level 15, but with Octarine core, it's an extra 25%, which stacks multiplicatively, not additively, unfortunately. But it's very important to try and keep the black hole cooldown as low as possible, so that you're not in a position where the enemy team can really punish you while the black hole is on cooldown. And that's really the main important thing. Obviously, if you go refresher, yes, you'll have two black holes, but the cooldown can still be like 2 or 3 minutes long, and that's the point where the enemy team can go roche, can push racks, all these different things. With Octarine core, I think the cooldown goes to something like really really low, like nearly about 90 seconds or so. I don't know the exact time, but it's definitely a lot lower. So in situations like this as well, a level 15 talent, if you have Midas, there is no exception. You have to go cooldown reduction if you have Midas. If you don't have Midas, however, in the last game I didn't have Midas and I went for the gold per minute talent. And I think if you're playing support Enigma, I think definitely the gold per minute talent is just fantastic. Any gold per minute talent is so good, but I think, as I've mentioned before, the importance of having a low cooldown on black hole, the cooldown reduction is so good. And so that's why you want to go Midas, because you want to go the cooldown reduction talent. But if you go the gold per million, it's all these different things. Like, it just synergizes so nicely. If you can go Midas and the cooldown reduction, it's kind of like the perfect way to play it. Just synergizes perfectly, in my opinion. So I've got BKB now, and I've got black hole. So I'm immediately telling my team, like, come on, let's make a play. Let's go gank. Let's try and make anything happen. And like I said, I don't play perfectly this game. Like, I think there's a few black holes that I kind of whiff completely. And in games like this is where your black hole is so important. So it's really important that you kind of land every black hole and you land it well. I probably won't go through this whole game, because it does go on for like 50 minutes. So I'll kind of try and edit it as much as possible. But in games like this is where really the black hole is so important. Obviously, in the last game, my black hole didn't matter at all. But in situations like this, you have to be very, very clutch in the way you use black hole. And yeah, so I'm obviously like trying to stay up with my team. I've got BKB now. Any opportunity I see, I'm going to go for a decent black hole. And it's kind of quite useful to have puck. I'm kind of trying to be a bit greedy, trying to get bot tower when I probably should be with my team here. And I think this is where I whiff completely. Look at that, like, terrible black hole. A little bit trigger really, like, and this is where we should be backing. Like, we miss a big spell like that, like, I need to back off straight away, because if we sort of stay, they're going to know that I don't have black hole, and they're going to punish it. So we should back off. Instead, we kind of linger a little bit. And this is where we do get punished, I think. We stay for a while. We try and kill the center as well, I think, after getting the tower. And this is where we get punished. And so that's just what I mean. Like, it's so important to make sure you're using your black hole as best as you can. I try and stay, puck stays, and I think we kill the centaur, but we end up wiping as a result. No BKB, no black hole. Easy time for them to attack and to set up. And that's why you have to be very clutch with the black hole. Like, I completely with my black hole there, and as a result, like, it can change this team fight completely. So yeah, just try and be as clutch and as careful as you can. I apologise to my team here. I say, like, it's really bad by me. Sorry about the black hole. Just if you're going to make mistakes. Like, even in competitive matches, like, I've seen pros with black holes, and so if you're missing black holes, as we all do, like, don't matter. Just sort of shake it off and try and go for the next ones. One thing to note as well, like, they'll get to a point where I'll show you a few sort of tips and tricks to try and help you kind of land like big black holes. And probably the best example is I'll show you now, if I just stop this. So, like, this is just the same game as I was sort of talking about before, but it's a little bit later on. I've got my Octarine core, and my life there dies without buyback. So really, this is the point where I need to land the big black hole, or we're probably going to lose. I was going to go for linkens, as you can see, because the storm has picked up a hex, and dying without getting anything off is worse than landing like this immaculate two-man double black hole, for example. But when desperate times call for desperate measures, and I concede going for the linkens and try and go for the refresher and the quote-unquote big play, because I know lifesteal has no buyback, and this is the point where we could probably lose the game. There's 6k up as well, so I need to make something big happen if I think we're going to lose it. Now, the key thing here, honestly, is the smoke here. So I obviously buy a refresher and I smoke by myself. Now, in scenarios, people could be like, "Oh, smoking by yourself is terrible. You should never do it, etc., etc., etc." Like, it's a team item. You should be using it to set up kills, but doesn't screw him. Don't listen to him. Honestly, like in situations like this where you need to get good positioning and you need to make sure that you're not spotted by the storm, for example. You don't have linkens if he zips in and hexes you, like the game's over basically. So having a little smoke just to yourself can be all the difference. What you're going to see here is Ursa actually blinks in aggressively. He's actually going to pop my smoke, but it's going to give me enough time to position myself where Storm tries to zip in, and he's not going to see me because I have the smoke, and it's going to make all the difference. I'll let the play. So I'm smoked by myself. Ursa blinks in aggressively, does pop, but it's just enough time for me to land a 3-man black hole and refresh and do it all over again. And that really was kind of the play of the game, because lifesteal and no buyback, game's going to be over, and I delay the game enough for him to come back, and we end up kind of winning the game because of it. There's another one in the Roche pit as well later on, but that really isn't to do with the smoke. It's just to do with landing it from vision, really. And that's kind of why vision is so important, really. So whether you kind of smoke by yourself, or you have your own sentries to buy just so the enemy can't kill you, in this sort of situation, Storm really should be only focusing and going for me, particularly now I don't have linkens. So just having kind of control of vision, whether you smoke, even there's potential to sometimes even buy Shadow Blade. I've seen like teams like TFT, like Hanskin, he's like playing position 4 Enigma, buys Shadow Blade and sets up kills because of it. This is the position here where I show you where me not having linkens actually costs me. I don't have black hole. Storm zips in. I have no linkens. I just instantly die. Simple as that. And that's why having linkens is important. Getting one black hole off is more important than getting getting one black hole off properly because I have linkens is more important than getting this dream setup of 2 black holes. But obviously, when in the bottom fight, it had to be done because it was a desperate situation, desperate times. And there'll be a time when I do buy linkens actually, and I'll try and show you where Storm doesn't realize it, and we kill Storm. And sometimes linkens are more. But like I said, going back to the point, Shadow Blade and Vision is so important. Because it can sort of set up everything for your black hole. So particularly in games like this, try and focus a lot on vision, focus a lot on smokes, even buying Shadow Blade if necessary. So this is just another point in the game where we ended up catching AA and Ursa out of position, and we ended up killing them. ITB bot to try and pressure the lane and force in bot to come. And this is where Storm tries to gank me, but because I have the linkens, we can end up changing. I end up catching him, killing him. He comes in instant black hole, and I'll refresh and black hole again. Luckily, I have Puck TPing him, and we do kill him. And so, very important to have, particularly against heroes that have ability to kill you before you pop BKB, to have this linkens. Sometimes people might think, oh, going Ags, for even more damage in the black hole can be useful, but this linkens will actually allow you to get a black hole off in the first place, which is always more important than making this amazing damage for black hole. And secondly, obviously, you saw in that clip as well, I didn't use Midnight Pulse. Obviously, if you can and if you have the time, you should Midnight Pulse into Black Hole because the amount of damage you do. However, in situations, particularly when you're playing against a Storm, you're not going to have the time to do Midnight Pulse and Black Hole. So just doing Black Hole straight away is more important, particularly if you have the follow-up from like a hero like Puck. Hey guys, so this is going to be part of sort of the tips and tricks and the kind of hotkeys and key bindings part of the video. So I'm just going to jump into a quick demo hero game, and I'll show you a few tips and tricks with the hero. So first off, I think one of the most important key bindings is really to do with your Eidolons. So first off, just sort of to create Eidolons, I always have it on quick cast. In fact, I have every spell on quick cast for Enigma. I think speed really is the essence. There is probably maybe an argument to have maybe Midnight Pulse or Black Hole not on quick cast, just so you can kind of click the area and sort of so you know exactly where the area is. But in my opinion, after you've played Enigma a couple of games, you kind of know the range and you know the radius of both Midnight Pulse and Black Hole, and having it on quick cast just means you can do both things very quickly, and you don't have to worry too much about clicking each spell and clicking where that you want to put it. So onto the Eidolons. So yeah, obviously have create Eidolons on a quick cast, but then have the control one to control all of your Eidolons, and then one to control both your hero and your Eidolons. The reason why is that obviously if you're black holding someone, you want to have control of your Eidolons to help attack as well. So having just them on your own key binding is useful, and to do that I have it on settings and then advanced hotkeys, and then I use select all other units, and for me it's just that because it's easy for me, but you can have it on whatever you want. And then also when you're say CSing and denying, you want to make sure that you have your Eidolon and your hero attacking to really last hit. And to do that, it's just all controlled units, and for me it's just tab. So I think for Eidolons, both of those are just really important. Now, to go quickly over the Midnight Pulse and the Black Hole point, just put simply, I think if you can and if it feels natural for you, always have it on quick cast, because say if you're playing against a hero like a Puck or a Storm Spirit, or even really any kind of carry hero, that wants to buy BKB, for example, having the ability to really, just blink in Midnight Pulse and Black Hole is so important. So having that extra click in terms of having to, not manually click, but having that extra step of clicking and then knowing where to put it, and then like black holing, is I think honestly a second too slow. They might be able to get a BKB off, which can stop a lot of the damage from your other team when they're using their spells in your black hole, or they might be able to blink away, or they might be able to zip away or phase shift or whatever. So if possible, I think it's very important to have it on quick cast. It just makes all the difference, because obviously sometimes you're not even going to be able to have the time to midnight pulse and then black hole. Sometimes you just have to black hole, and having it on quick cast I think is more important than having it just on the edge, in my opinion anyway. I think it's just very important. So now I'm just going to have a quick brief overview of the talents as well. This is just the trends of what all the people in Divine and Immortal brackets are going. Obviously that doesn't mean that you should go just because they are. Obviously every game is different, and all your talents and item builds should be situational. But at level 10, movement speed or magic resist, I think both are good honestly, but as you see, movement speed has a slight win increase over magic resist. I think just in general anyway, I think the movement speed probably should be the rule go to, and then magic resist should be maybe the exception if you're going against a heavy magic based team. Also, a thing to note as well is that if you're going for the more team fight and sort of pushing and aura, I think the magic resist has more weight to it, so you can be a bit more tanky. Get off nice midnight pulses, eidolons, stuns, etc. And if you're going for more of the kind of big black hole plays and you need to, the move speed might be a little bit better. But move speed is great, regardless as well, I guess. But I think just generally speaking, move speed might be a little bit better just because of the impact it has on farming rotations, the impact it has on landing better positioning for black holes, etc. At level 15, it's a little bit harder to say. I think cooldown reduction is by far better, but that's only if really you go Midas. I think if you don't go Midas, I think gold per minute is generally better, because it's going to offer you more gold, and that's you kind of need late game items for Enigma to be useful in the late game, like BKB, Refresher, Octarine, etc. And the gold per minute will definitely help that, particularly if the game goes later, which I feel a lot of pub games do. But the cooldown reduction is kind of the ideal talent in an ideal world where you can get Midas, so obviously has a lower cooldown than Black Hole, and can synergize so nicely that you can continue to take team fights. For level 20, it's quite interesting because the health obviously has a higher win rate, but I think the Eidolon damage is just straight up better because when you do eventually get to 25, the demonic conversion Eidolons is just the best talent. You'll see in some games where there's so many Eidolons, and like you can take Raxes by yourself completely, and I think that's just far better than having higher health and higher stun instances on your Malefice. And obviously, if you're going to go for the Eidolon talent at level 25, then you might as well go for it at level 20 as well. But honestly, like, you'll see in a few games I might show you later that the Eidolons do so much work, so much damage, so much push. It's actually absurd. So it's absolutely bonkers in that respect. Now I'm going to go over quickly a few kind of counters that you might sort of see and sort of when it's good to pick Enigma. Put it simply, I think Enigma is like honestly at the point where he's so good. I think he's kind of good in any game. Obviously, there's games where he is better in some and worse in others, but I think generally speaking, I think he's kind of always good. Like if you have an Enigma on your team, you're not going to be like, oh my god, why did he pick Enigma? It's like it's always good. Put simply, I'm going to focus on the heroes to go with Enigma. I think particularly in the laner stage, having any hero that can do well at boxing out the enemy support. I mentioned a little bit about that and why in early in the video. Um, so any kind of range hero is good, but sometimes you want to have like a melee hero that can kind of synergize well with a kind of a decent self-sustaining range hero that Enigma is. So sometimes like Shaker, Breaker, Shaker or Spirit Breaker are quite good because also they add extra lockdown when your black hole is sort of finishing to sort of charge, and they also Fisher and Echo can be really good. But I think any hero is kind of good in Enigma. In general, because he's quite a self-sustaining hero, he can kind of do a lot by himself, whether he is solo or with another person. So to focus more so on when you're getting countered, I think honestly the worst hero to play against as in a support role is Silencer for two reasons. One is that really there's no item you can itemize against global silence that will stop your black hole. Obviously you can get Greaves that will kind of cancel out the silence aspect, but if you're if you're casting black hole and he uses global silence, there's nothing you can really do about it, and so it kind of ends up being a point where you are kind of playing chicken with the silencer, where you decide which one will use that almost first. So it can be quite difficult. And not only that, but he has a kind of quite a good laning presence and can box you out quite easily as well. So it's quite hard and annoying to deal with. Another hero similar like that is Warlock as well. You'll see these kind of heroes that are quite good against him because obviously he has a BKB disable, and there's something you can really do to really play against it outside of either landing it on landing the black hole on Warlock plus and a few of his team, or waiting for him to use it again, similar to Silencer as well. Now, Avengers is a little bit of an interesting one because obviously, again, has BKB disable, but you can pick up linkens to sort of deal with him. But now that there's like this kind of bug where I don't know if they fixed it yet, I don't think they have actually, where Venge can swap. And if it breaks a Linken's charge, it doesn't break a charge of Venge's ultimate. So he can kind of keep swapping regardless, and so it kind of cancels you out, which can be quite annoying. So he's a little bit annoying, but he's not very great in the lane, honestly, and also has no kind of D push to deal with your Eidolons either, outside of Wave, which isn't great. Rubik is another one that they pick a lock against you. A lot of them think they can land black holes, but again, I think Rubik, like he does sort of counter your black hole, but conceptually speaking, he doesn't really deal great with Enigma. Like Enigma wants to kind of push early and make a lot of sort of team fights, and particularly if you go like the kind of the style of team fight with Greaves and maybe like Vlad's or some kind of these team items, then like Rubik will be waiting to sort of steal this perfect black hole, and unless he has all this great farm, say with A for Lend and Blink, he will struggle to get like land a good steal and then cast a good black hole himself. So I think Rubik is kind of quote unquote not as good as in comparison to say Silencer or Warlock, and as a result, whenever you do see Enigma played, normally you'll find people picking like Silencer and Warlock against you than Rubik. But obviously you need to be aware of it. But you can buy linkens that can sort of stop spell steal. So there's ways to deal with Rubik, whereas Silencer and Warlock it's harder to really deal with. In terms of carries, Spectre is very good against you because of a few reasons. One, it's hard to pressure him in lane a little bit because he has quite a lot of kind of presence with his dispersion, so your Eidolons do a little bit less damage. Obviously, you can kill your Eidolons quite easily with Spectral Dagger, but more importantly, So guys, that's the end of the video. Thanks again for staying with the video for so long. If you did, if you didn't, then well, thanks anyway. Obviously, guys, please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy the content, and leave me a comment down below if you wanted to say what you did good, what I could improve on. Like, it's my first time doing the video, so it's going to be very rough, I know, for this first video. I'm just getting back into making videos and making some content for Dota, and that I used to do with Heroes of Newerth. I don't know if some of you guys might know me from working with Breaky back on Honcast. So yeah, just make a comment if there's another hero you'd like to see me do next. Please leave a comment down below. But I appreciate all the support, guys, and I'll see you again in the next video. Ciao, ciao.